1-2-1-2. What's going on, world famous Wake Up Show? You know what? I got my man Dan Charnas on the phone. You guys might remember him as the crazy cat that used to come on the Wake Up Show and kick, crazy poetry, man. He would break lyrics down from rappers that we thought were so intricate, and he would put it into Dead Poets Society form and then make it even more intricate, man. What's going on, Dan? How you doing, man?
Oh, man, back after a decade-long absence from the Wake Up Show. It's very good to be back home.
Hey, you know what I'm going to do, Dan, real quick, just so I can remind cats? I'm going to play one of the old segments when you were on the Wake Up Show so people know who we talking to. All right? Hold on one second.
All right.
Easy. Hey, hey, Ice, man, cut the music, bro. This is serious, man.
Okay.
He's vibing off of this, man.
I'm the one-man army, a son. I've never been tooken out. I keep MCs looking out. I drop science like girls be dropping babies. About enough to make a go crazy. Energy building, taking all types of medicines. Plus, you thought you were better than Ason? I keep planets in orbit. While I be coming with deeper and more enough to make you, break you, shake you. Rhymes that I create, good as a tasty cake makes. This style I mastered in. Catching headaches? What? You need aspirin. Thank you very much.
Yo, man, so that's my man Dan Charnas right there. Now, Dan, we go way back, man. Obviously, man, we started in the Bay Area on KMEL, and you got a book out right now called The BIG PAYBACK, and it's really about the history of how, money was being made and how we got to this level where we're at right now. Can you break the book down a little bit, man? Because for a lot of young cats that really don't know what happened, like I meet a lot of people that want to know what happened in the music business, man. How did we get to where we're at? Tell me a little bit about your book real quick.
Yeah, well, that's exactly what the question is. I think a lot of kids today, have never lived in a time when, Jay-Z and the faces of Jay-Z and Sean Combs didn't stare down at them from billboards and, weren't on their TV and in movies and on books. And, the fact of the matter is 20 years ago, that wasn't the case. As a matter of fact, it was a struggle to get this stuff onto radio. It was a struggle to get this stuff onto TV. And the people who fought weren't just the artists. It was actually the people who worked behind the artists who did a lot of the fighting. And I wanted to tell the stories of those people. So it's not just the artists, but it's the business people as well. So that's why The BIG PAYBACK is the history of the business of hip-hop from 1968, the very first time that DJ Hollywood picks up a microphone and earns $15, to 2008 when Obama is elected.
Wow, man, this is incredible, man. And, obviously we sat down with you. For those that don't know, Dan interviewed myself about 2.5, 3 years ago. And, I never really thought, I didn't know what was going to happen with that interview, to be honest with you, man. A lot of cats interview us and then we never see them again. So I'm really excited and happy for you that you actually put the book out. And I think due to the fact that it's the 20th anniversary of that first mix I turned into KMEL, I think I'm going to go ahead and play that mix tonight, man. This is like...
What?
This is it, man. This is the breakthrough.
No, man, because I wanted to hear that mix before I wrote the book. So now I get to hear it for the first time?
Yeah, man. Mix? Well, everybody has a start somehow. Everybody got to start somewhere, man. And nobody really knows how the Wake Up Show kind of came to be. And, I'll give you a quick thing that I told Dan Charnas, man, which was, we were a little rebellious, man. When I won the DJ battle in 1989 at KMEL, I was supposed to turn in a real happy pop mix and be a guest DJ. And I pretended like that's what I was going to turn in, but that's not what I turned in. And that led to, the Wake Up Show being born, man. Am I saying it right, Dan? I mean, I'm talking about my own moment. I'm asking you about it, man. Is that right?
Well, if you'll allow me to talk about how important that was. I mean, it wasn't just the mix. I mean, basically what was happening in San Francisco at the time, right? And I want to say that, Power 106 also plays a huge role in this book. But Power 106's journey into hip-hop was actually inspired by a radio station in San Francisco called KMEL. And KMEL was run by a young Jewish 24-year-old program director named Keith Naphtali, who did something that nobody else in pop radio in America did before. He literally started programming hardcore hip-hop in the daytime. It was unheard of at the time. And another thing that he did was he started to bring in credible voices of hip-hop. And basically, Keith Naphtali lucked into King Tech and Sway. And the way that he lucked into them is that he had a guy working for him named Alex Mejia. Alex Mejia started playing a record that Sway and King Tech had made as a group called Dynamic Force. And Mejia was just trying to help Sway and Tech, be recording artists on the local scene. But part of that was to enter you with this DJ contest at City Nights that KMEL was sponsoring, and the prize was, I think, $1,000, and you got to do your mix on KMEL, right?
Absolutely.
So what happens after that? I love like I'm telling your story, right? So what happens after that is Tech wrecks it, right? He wrecks the contest, and he gets to do this mix on KMEL, and Keith, after the mix, suddenly, and this is all told in the Big Payback, better than I can tell it right now, but what Keith realizes is that King Tech and his buddy Sway are those credible hip-hop voices that he's been looking for the whole time. And this mix that King Tech did that you're about to hear, it was pretty revolutionary and pretty eye-opening for Keith. And so after you play it, we should come back and tell people what happened as a result of that mix.
Absolutely, man. So everything he's talking about is in your book, and it's called, what is it again called, Dan?
The Big Payback, the history of the business of hip-hop.
Yeah, everything he just said is in that book, and even in more detail, man. So if you want to know what happened, I'm going to play the mix that was never supposed to air. And, I can't say that the mix itself was, I only had like 2 turntables, a reel-to-reel, and a sampler. I didn't have like Pro Tools and Logic Audio and Serato at that time, but my record collection was bananas. And that's back in those days, man. The DJ's collection was his soldiers. That was his army. You know what I mean? Like now these days, everybody can file share or whatever, but back then, when you pull out certain records and play them, everybody just looked at you crazy. So you're about to hear a mix that played on KMEL, and I told them it was going to be nothing. It was going to be filled with Belle Biv DeVoe and Mariah Carey and etc. And it turned out to be the most underground mix ever played on commercial radio at that time. We're going to go back into 1990 right after these commercials, all right? Hold on, y'all. Hold on.
Speaking of a girl named
Guest mixer, the one and only King Tech, all over your radio, your power station 106 KMEL. This is Kevin Nash. Yes, indeed. Coming up at 11 o'clock is the Love Zone. Stick around. KMEL.
Get your head up and listen to me, boy.
1 2 1 2. There you have it, man. That's my man Kevin Nash. He was the board op or the disc jockey or the guy on air personality that night. I didn't even know the cat, man, and I feel a bit responsible. I thought he was going to get fired. As a matter of fact, I was so excited to have that mix on the air because it was, I was breaking new grounds. And when I got home, man, I got a disturbing call from Keith Naphtali saying he was very upset with me that actually Minister Farrakhan got to play on commercial radio. But at that time, we were such hip-hop heads, man, that, Public Enemy had the record, Farrakhan's a brother, and I think you ought to listen to. What you ought to do, And I was like, yo, I got to play a little bit of Farrakhan, man. So here's the story. By sticking to my guns and what I believed in, I went against, what normal things was at that time. And long story short is, when I got home that night, he called me and said he was very disappointed. And then 2 days later called me and said, hey, we got to meet with you because we've never got fan mail for a DJ before. So what do you want to do here? What do you want to do? And that really is what opened the doors for, Sway and King Tech, the Bums, Motion Man, Joe Quicks and a lot of other cats that were in the Bay that were just struggling, or we were just grinding it out. All of a sudden, man, you got all these young cats on the radio murdering it, and within 2 years, I'm not joking, man, all of NYC and the whole world was stopping by the Bay to see what this revolution was, man. And go ahead, Dan, give me your point of view, brother.
Well, Well, no, I mean, that's absolutely right. I mean, what Keith told me when I asked him his recollections of it is that he was concerned about the Farrakhan thing because he was trying to create this multicultural radio station where everybody felt welcome. However, he loved the mix, and he said to me, he actually just didn't, he loved it, but he didn't want to tell you he loved it because he didn't want you to get too comfortable too quick. Did you believe that?
Okay.
Right? So what happens after that, as you said, is you start getting on the radio regularly, but then there's this point, right, as you told me and as Keith told me, that you said, you know what, I'm really happy and grateful to be doing this mix, but I want to do more than just mix records. I want to talk about them. I want to talk about what these records mean, where to get them. I want to bring artists on. And so that spawned the idea for this thing called the Wake Up Show, which debuted, I believe, in the fall of 1990 on KMEL. Now, for us just to say the Wake Up Show now, the Wake Up Show's been around for, 20 years now? Like, 20 years? But the thing is that the Wake Up Show, at that time, made history because it was the very first rap show on a pop station anywhere in America. I mean, this was before Power 106 in LA and Hot 97 in New York were playing hip-hop, and they were where the place where hip-hop lived, right?
Right.
This is when radio stations just did not do that. And that is how the Wake Up Show broke ground. And the Wake Up Show actually became the inspiration for two other shows on pop stations around the country. The first one was Funkmaster Flex's mix on Hot 97 in New York. And then the second was the Baker Boys' Friday Night Flavors on Power 106 in LA, which started a couple of years later, I think in 1992, 1993.
Absolutely.
But the Wake Up Show was so powerful. And one of the reasons that it was powerful is that it was in San Francisco where, things were a little more relaxed. Sometimes tech could actually throw curses out on the air and, wouldn't get in too much trouble. And it made it so exciting for people all around the country, for artists who couldn't get played in their hometowns. Imagine you're coming in from New York, you're Gangstar, right? Or you're Tribe Called Quest, and you live in New York, and you can't hear your own records on the radio. But you come to San Francisco, and KMEL is not only bumping it during the daytime, but you get to come to Sway and King Tech and like rhyme on the air and talk about it. I mean, it was revolutionary to be at that station at that time in the company of you guys and to witness that. I'm lucky and blessed to have witnessed that firsthand, and frankly that was one of the inspirations for writing the book. I wanted people to know the story of how difficult it was to get this stuff on the air, how much people had to fight to do it. And if you want to see and meet one of the fighters, it's the person interviewing me on the air right now.
Thank you very much, man. I really appreciate it, Dan, man. And I'm glad you put this book together, man. The Big Payback is in stores right now, man. Dan Charnas, you're going to become a legend after this, homie, because nobody's taken the time or has taken the time really to put this together, something to the value that you put together, man. So if you love hip-hop the way we do and you want to know what, where, why, when, all that type of things, you got to get this man's book, The Big Payback, the homie Dan Charnas on the phone. Hey, God bless you, man, and thank you for doing this, brother, all right?
Thank you, Ted.
It's all good, man. Everything he's talking about is in the book, man. Grab it. All right, Dan, man. I'm going to hit you later, brother. Peace, brother.
Peace.
Peace, man. Peace, man.